right here is the actual document that the NCAA sent out this past week. And I'm going to be honest with you. I got it late last Thursday, and I'm going to be right up front. When I put out my last video, I had a good feel for what was coming, but I hadn't gone through the document line by line yet. And after sitting with this and after reading it carefully, this is bigger than people think. And everyone's just talking about the 5 years to play five. But that's not what this is really about. What the NCAA is actually calling for is an age based collegiate eligibility model. And if you don't understand what that means, you're going to be completely misreading what's going to happen right now. So let's sit down. Let's talk about this. Because what I've been getting the last few days are questions, a lot of questions in DMs and emails and just on social media in general. Parents asking, what happens if my son turns 19 during his senior year? Do we lose a year if we take a prep year? Should we reclass now or wait? Is it better to go right to college or delay? And there are a million more questions, but those are the ones that kept popping up. And here's the problem. Most families are trying to answer those questions without understanding the system. So let me explain this as clear as I can. This is not just a rule change. This is a complete restructuring of how eligibility will work in the NCAA. Under the old system, you had 4 seasons of competition inside a 5-year window or clock. And that clock started when you enrolled. You could redshirt. You could delay your path to college, take a prep year, take your gap year. You could even get years back through waivers, and there was a lot of waivers. So you had some flexibility. And that's what the NCAA is trying to eliminate. Under this new model, you still get 5 years, but now the clock starts earlier. It's tied to age or graduation. And once it starts, it doesn't stop. Now, there are a very few specific exemptions that exist in this model. And this is important. They've narrowed it down to only really a few situations. As of now, the very beginning of May. One is pregnancy, two is military service, and three is religious missions. And that's it. Everything else is really all gray area and is being removed right now. So when you step back and look at this, this is about one thing: control and predictability. The NCAA wants a system that's easier to manage, easier to enforce, and more consistent. But here's what that means for families. When you remove flexibility, you remove options. And when you remove options, you change recruiting. So let me walk you through what I think are the 12 most important things that you need to understand right now. But before I forget, I want you to go right inside to my bio or to my website and download the free college recruiting Jumpstart pack. It'll help you get started. It's completely free. I'll list it in the show notes. Or again, go to keithmondillo.com. All right, let's get into section 1. Current college seniors, spring of 2026. So they're the easiest group to start with, because if you're a college senior right now graduating in spring of 2026, this doesn't apply to you. There's been a lot of confusion around this. People are asking, do they get a 5th year? Are they grandfathered in? Does this extend eligibility? And the short answer is no, it doesn't. If your eligibility is used, you're done. There's no extra year. There's no retroactive benefit. The rule doesn't go backwards. That's important because families hear 5 years and they assume everyone benefits. And that's not how this is going to work. This is only looking forward. Section 2. Current college athletes with eligibility left. Now, if you're already in college and you still have eligibility left, this is where things get interesting. You may have a choice. You may be able to operate under the current system or the new model, whichever one benefits you more. But here's the key. That flexibility is temporary. There is a deadline. Waivers must be filed by this July 30th of 2026. After that, the door starts to close. So if you're in this group, this is not something you want to ignore. This is something you need to understand right now. You probably want to get, if you're in college right now and you've fallen into this group, you might want to talk to your compliance officer or one of your assistant ADs or your athletic director. And remember, this is just for Division One. Division 2 and 3, this doesn't apply to. All right, the next section, the high school class of 2026. Now, let me be very clear here. When I say class of 2026, I'm talking about high school seniors. You are the first class that really steps into this system. And most families in this class don't realize that yet. And you're not transitioning into the old system. You're stepping into something brand new. And that's why understanding this is important right now. All right, next section, class of 27 and beyond. These are the younger athletes. This is going to be your reality. There's no more old system. There's no more flexibility, and there's no more choosing. This is what you will operate under from start to finish. So everything you do, every decision you make has to be based on this structure. When does your clock start? This is one of the biggest changes in the entire proposal. Your eligibility clock no longer starts when you enroll in college. It starts at the earliest of your 19th birthday, your high school graduation, or your expected graduation timeline. It's a major shift because now you don't control the start of your clock. The NCAA does. And that changes everything about the timing. All right, moving on. This is the question I get the most. What happens if my son turns 19 in high school? Do they lose a year? That answer is real simple. No, they don't. They still get 5 full years. But here's the part people are missing. Their clock now can start during their senior year. So let's talk about this. If they go straight to college, there's not a problem. They still have a full 5-year window to participate. But if they delay college, meaning like a prep school, a gap year, or they reclass, well, that time now counts. So they're not losing a year, they're losing flexibility. And that's a difference. Now, the waiver part. This is one of the biggest hidden changes. Right now, waivers, right now, under the current system, allow for extra years, restored seasons, and a lot of flexibility. That's going completely away. After July 31st, 2026, as long as this passes, waivers are no longer going to be used the same way. So the safety net that families have relied on is disappearing. Let's talk about something everyone understands, and that's red shirts. Under the old system, you could save a year. You could manage your seasons. Under this system, there are no seasons. There's only time. That clock never stops. Now, in the short term, this may actually create problems because you could have players under the old rules, players under the new rules, and they're going to occupy the same roster. That creates congestion, that creates log jams, and that impacts recruiting immediately. So, under the old system, you have grace periods. You have time before your clock starts. And like I said, that's gone. Now your clock is always running. There's no more waiting and there's no more figuring it out later. This doesn't affect everyone equally. It hits hardest reclassed athletes, international players, prep school kids, and gap years. Those are the groups that lose the most flexibility. Now, let's step back and look at all this. This is not about giving athletes more time. This is about predictability, structure, and control. The NCAA is trying to eliminate all the chaos that's been going on since the pandemic. So let me simplify this for you. When you remove flexibility, you remove opportunity. When you tighten timelines, you increase pressure. And when you control the system, you change recruiting. Now, here's the part I really want high school families to understand because everything we just talked about, this is not just about eligibility, this is about roster spots. And this applies across all sports. Let me focus on basketball and use that as an example because it's just easy math right now. So right now, most Division One programs are allowed 15 roster spots. That hasn't changed. But what I'm hearing from coaches, and I mentioned this in my last video, and what I'm seeing is they're not going to fund all 15. Most programs are going to operate more like with 11 or 12, maybe 13 at the most on their roster. Why? Because they're going to take that extra money and move it towards the house settlement to pay players. That's the revenue sharing portion of this. So paying players that are already in their program as opposed to taking care of players that might be at the end of their bench. So now let's build a real roster. And this is what families need to understand. And again, go back into my last video because I go into detail about this. Let's say a basketball program is returning 6 or 8 players. It's pretty normal. Now add in 3 to 4 transfer portal players because that's what teams are averaging now. And that's who they're recruiting. Now you're at 10 or 12 already. So what does that leave? 1 spot, maybe 2 for a high school player. Guys, that's the reality. And that's not theory. That's what's happening right now. Now compare that to what it used to be. You'd see rosters with 3 or 4 freshmen, sometimes 5 freshmen. That's never going to happen again. I don't anticipate ever seeing that again, even underneath this new model. Now you're going to see rosters with 1 freshman, maybe 2. And that's the big shift. And let me be clear about something. High school recruiting is not dead. It really isn't. The Power Four programs, they're always going to recruit the top players in the country. That's not changing. And if you're at that level, you're still going to get recruited. But everything else, that's where it's all changing. Mid majors will still take high school players. Low majors will still take high school players, but not at the volume they used to. It's going to be more selective, more calculated, and more limited. When you combine that with what we just talked about, players staying longer, less movement, tighter timelines, you get roster logjams. And when rosters get tight, the opportunities just shrink. And that's what high school athletes are walking into right now. So, what does that mean for you? It means you cannot approach recruiting the same way anymore. You can't sit back and say, I'm a Division One player, that's where I'm going. Because right now, that approach is way too risky. You need options. You need real options across all levels at Division One, Two, and Three. And not just as a backup plan, but as a part of your real plan. You need to be honest about where you are right now. And you need to build that school list right now. You need to communicate with college coaches. And you need to create opportunities for yourself. Because in this environment, the families with options are the ones who win. And this is where most families get stuck. They don't know where to start. They don't know who to reach out to. And they don't know how to build that school list. And instead of building a plan, they just guess. And if you're just guessing right now, guys, you're already behind. It's exactly why I built and created the college recruiting on-ramp system. Because right now, more than ever before, families need a starting point. This isn't about just sending out emails. This isn't about chasing exposure. It's about understanding how this process actually works in 2026, where your athlete fits, and how to build a plan in a changing system. Because this is changing fast. It's actually changing daily. The families who understand it early are the ones who are going to have options. So if you feel like you're guessing right now, that's where I would start. And if you're not ready for that, like I said earlier, download my free college recruiting Jumpstart pack. At least get that foundation. If you found this information helpful, please like and subscribe. I try and reach as many families as I can to help them with the athletic recruiting process. And with everything's going on right now, especially this summer coming up, there's going to be a lot more questions and a lot more video follow-ups. Just remember, I'm not a recruiting service. I'm an educational organization that guides families just like yours through the college athletic recruiting process. Take care, and we will see you in the next video.